Alright, hello, welcome to my podcast called Lovely But Not So Lovely. Let me give you the context because it's like my first podcast, and let me give you the context behind my little name of this podcast. So lovely, some not lovely, some not lovely. It's kind of like a pro and con thing. So we talk about certain topics that are lovely, and then sometimes we do talk about different topics that aren't really lovely. And so for today's topic, I am going to be hitting kind of an area in my life that actually hit really hard growing up in my household, and I do feel like so many others could relate to me. Not only that, I also want to talk about both sides as for a parent and as a child, but yeah, as a child or teen. But we're gonna talk about our topic today is gonna be about when a parent isn't there for their child growing up. For my project, I wanted to do a podcast and do my research on this certain topic and also tell my story because I also dealt with this growing up. Sorry if you hear background noises. I couldn't get anywhere else to be quiet except in my room. But I am going to be talking about that topic today about how important it is to be in your child's life. Not only that, I do feel like we should get a better understanding on why the mother or father, whoever the parent is, see what their side of the story is and why they weren't there or weren't able to be there in your life growing up, or either being there for certain stuff at school or places. So I'm gonna go off and start with my story, but this story I'm gonna be talking about my how I grew up, kind of because of how much it affected me. Now that I'm older, I'm 18, about to turn 19 this month. I can relate a lot because it still affects me now, and it affected me a lot more when I was a kid. So growing up, I would go to school and stuff like that, but like my parents, my mom and my dad wouldn't be there for like certain celebrations. I guess like at school we'll have like celebrations with parents. We show them off our skills of singing or their skills of like arts and crafts and stuff like that. My parents wouldn't come at all because I guess during that time my parents didn't have enough time to come and join us and like be there with us, and so we would have to just be there by ourselves and be there alone. And so while I was a kid, growing up and seeing other kids, seeing them with their parents, I ended up I guess I had jealousy against those kids, which I shouldn't have. I was very jealous of those kids being able to have their parents be there for them, being happy for them, and just being there for them in general. And so I do feel like when it came to that, I gained so much jealousy and hatred for my parents because I was like, when I was like a little kid, I didn't know what was right or wrong, right? So I just thought about it. I was like, my parents don't even come over here. They don't even come and support me as a kid. But like back then, I didn't really understand the perspective of my parents and what they were going through and the struggles they had. But as a kid, I grew up not having my parents there. I ended up falling into very much depression. I would never go to school due to how much I hated school because of my parents not being there and being supportive for me as a kid growing up. And I do feel like them not being there for me and stuff like that took a big grudge on me against my parents. Like I grew up like not having a close relationship with any of my parents. I would have to grow up in a household where my parents would just. But growing up, that made me have a lot of trauma, and I ended up growing up with having a lot of mental health issues. I ended up getting really severe anxiety and really bad depression. I haven't taken any of the pills. I did take them way back then, but now I haven't because I do feel like I know how to control my whole entire like anxiety and depression now. But overall, just I ended up growing hatred against my parents because of like them not being there for me. But after doing my research and seeing everything about why some parents aren't there, like for example, here are some examples why parents aren't there for the child: is divorce, Parents have their own problems, of course. Certain things work. Parents work to try their best to get the best life for the child and the best needs for the child, but also like death of a parent and all that could be causes of them not being there for their child and everything like that. In my perspective, it was my parents. My mom, they originally came over here to Utah. When they first came here, they didn't know anyone at all, and when they came here, they need to figure everything out on their own and do everything by themselves. And so I do feel like when it came to that, she would struggle a lot and she didn't know where to go. She didn't want to get lost. And so I do feel like now that I'm older and I understand a lot more because I'm 18 and everything like that, I do feel like I understand my mom's perspective a lot more. My dad was out there working really hard for us to just make sure that we had food on the table to eat every night. And hearing my parents' perspective of them coming over here when we were little kids and them telling me that my dad didn't have anything when he came over here. He would walk barefoot, he would have his clothes ripped, he would have like no shirt, like his pants ripped. He came here with nothing, and I guess they had it really hard back then because of how back then was very racist against some certain type of people of skin color, or if they had a background of a certain type. And so they had it really rough coming here. And so I guess whatever they learned from their parents back in Mexico, they put it on us because they think that that's how they grew up, that's how they think that's going to be like the best for us. But I'm gonna be honest, it's never the best to follow what your parents did, because it just affects your child so much. Because if it affected you, and the child, and as you as a parent knows how much your parents affected you back then, it won't do this. It'll do the same for your child. Like, it's gonna affect your child. You're not gonna have that bond with them. And so I do feel like when it comes to having a relationship with a parent, or either all of them, just this day and age, there's teen moms, teen adults in their 20s too, also having kids right now. And I do feel like right now is the time to be there for your kid. Even if you're divorced, be sure to have that good communication with your child, because when they get older, who knows if they're going to want to be in your life, who knows if they want to leave the house. Like, that's the thing. Not only that, like, they're going to grow up with a lot of different mental health like difficulties with that, and school education. Like, for me, it has affected me so much in my education. It's really bad. So I would recommend to understand your parents' perspective, see where they came from, see how the parents treated them, and see what you can do better for yourself and for your own kids when you do have your own kids, and see what you could do for them that won't affect them but still help them in the way, and have that good relationship as mother and child, or parent or dad as son, parents and child, that good relationship. So I do feel like, for my research, I really like that I switched this up, because I do feel like this is a very topic that's very important this day and age, because everyone's having kids now. So, and I do feel like my research on seeing like how much the percentage of kids not going to school went up, and also the percentage of kids having a lot of mental health disorders and all that jazz is just not it. Just going through all that as a child and growing up having it hard is, like, I know it teaches you in a way, but at the same time you should be there to support them, right? Not just like there to mentally affect them growing up, and them not growing up having those mental health issues. But yeah, that's everything for my podcast.